Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of To The Point podcast. Everybody's doing well on this Thursday, and we are you're less than 48 hours away from the start of the conference title games in college football. We are, a few hours away from Thursday night football in the NFL. So a wild week, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. And who knew that last weekend Michigan winning would not be the headline come this week after all the carnage we've seen in college football. But before we dive into South Bend, to LSU, to Lincoln Riley, I want to introduce a great guest as always. Joining me again tonight is Matt Wright. Writer, how are things on the Champions Hockey home front?
Things are good, buddy. Just kind of getting into the Christmas season. We just had all of our Christmas apparel show up today. So it was a busy day of sorting tracksuits and hoodies and sweatpants and our new quarter zips. So it was a good day. Was on the ice all day yesterday with some of our groups, and it's good to hop on with some of our younger groups. And things are well, just kind of getting ready for the holiday season, buddy, but looking forward to diving into some football. I know a lot happened last weekend, and there's going to be a lot happening this weekend. So it's a good time of year to be a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's start with, what's near and dear to your heart, and that would be Notre Dame. 11-1 season, nothing to be ashamed about. Lost to Cincinnati. They are currently ranked, I believe, sixth behind Oklahoma State in the rankings. So you're thinking, well, a couple things go right. Notre Dame's in the Final Four. Plus, we know, right, it's a television product. And Notre Dame sells a little bit better than Oklahoma State. But this week, I did not see this one coming. After 12 seasons, all-time winningest head coach in the history of the program, Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame in really like the dead of night for Louisiana State University, LSU. What do you make of him leaving your beloved program?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. I don't even think there were any rumblings that he was going to leave. That's the thing. It really took me by surprise. And when I was looking at it the other night, when I saw a few of the headlines come in, I just assumed fake news. And then the more and more you read in, no, this is happening. And especially that message that was sent out to the team by him or whoever sent it out for him, basically saying, I'm done and let's have a 7 a.m. meeting, which is crazy that you're having a 7 a.m. meeting. Like, at least let the boys sleep in for a couple hours. Especially the meeting, I think, only lasted like 8 minutes or something like that. Like, it was crazy, but it's a huge loss for Notre Dame. Brian Kelly's done an awesome job with that program. They've been to at least one national championship, maybe 2 national championships. They've been to 3 or 4 Final Fours. They've solidified themselves as a top 10 program. Their recruiting class was supposed to be amazing next year. I don't know what's going to happen there. It's just a big loss for Notre Dame. I don't know where they look, whether they look internal, whether they look external. And the timing sucks. Let's be real here. The timing's awful. He obviously is leaving for the money, $95 million over 10 years, 9.5 a year. Like, who knows if Notre Dame would have matched that? By the sounds of it, probably not. But it just happened so quick. And the crazy thing is, like you said, they're sitting in 6th place. I mean, there's a good chance Georgia beats Alabama. Alabama probably falls out. I mean, Cincinnati's playing a tough game against Houston. Yep. That could happen. You got Iowa playing Michigan. Iowa could beat Michigan. There's lots that could happen, and Notre Dame could slide in. Now, I don't know how the committee looks at this. I think Notre Dame might be done regardless of what happens. I think the committee could look at this and say, no matter how many upsets there are, we're not putting Notre Dame in. But it would be a crazy story to see Notre Dame slide in there into the top 4 and go on a run and win a national championship without Brian Kelly. I don't know who's going to be taking the reins for that game. They haven't really made any. Basically, they haven't really said who's going to be behind the bench, whatever you want to call it, on the sideline. He's done. It's just such a weird timing. He's been there for 12 years. And the worst thing is, he says, I'm leaving for a new challenge, right? The first challenge isn't over. He said, I came to Notre Dame to win a national championship. they have an opportunity to win national championship this year. Like, I don't know. It definitely sucks. Now, the question is what's going to happen over the next year or two for Notre Dame, because they do have a great group of freshmen. They are supposed to have a great recruiting class. That could change, but it's definitely a shock to the system. And I mean, I liked what Brian Kelly did, but this one's a kind of a knife in the back on the way out.
Yeah, it certainly is. And for me, I hated the way he exited because it really just seems so just not classy. You know, he goes out and he, like you said, he calls a 7 a.m. meeting. Like if I'm a player, I'm like, I'm not going to that. Like, screw you. Like you've already abandoned us. We're about to possibly go into a playoff game here and you don't want to be a part of it. So why should I give you the time of day? And, you know, Marcus Freeman, their defensive coordinator, was out recruiting that night and he did not know. He was telling, you know, a family, come to Notre Dame. We got Brian Kelly. We got me. We got Tommy B's running offense. And it just seems really amateur hour that you go and tell a parent something. And then literally minutes later, you find out that you could be selling a bill of, you know what? And if I'm Brian Kelly, I get why he's going to LSU because, you know, let's just be honest. It's easier to recruit at LSU. Louisiana's got a lot of great prospects. Also, Notre Dame is one of the best institutions when it comes to just academics. It's not easy to get in there. Even if you're a football player, there are high standards and they allow one player every year that does not fit, you know, their requirements. Where LSU, you can bring in guys who, you know, were doing what I was doing in high school, which was really just, you know, floating by. But Ryder, do you think he actually has a better chance to win a national championship at LSU? Because the SEC is not getting any easier. A couple of years, you got a couple of teams in the Big 12 going there. I mean, Alabama and Georgia are still there. Lane Kiffin's got Ole Miss at 2 losses this year. I just see it as potentially more difficult to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I do too. And the thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, you could tell he left for the money. Like
yes.
it's let's not sugarcoat it. He's making more money. So it is what it is. I think I'd rather him, you know, not have a meeting in the 7 a.m. and say to the boys, listen, boys, I'm doing it for my family and making more money.
Right.
You know, because that's exactly what it is. So the whole press conference for 8 minutes to explain that was awful. Yeah, he's not going to have an easy road at LSU in the SEC. Like you look at the SEC championship game on Saturday, you got Alabama against Georgia. Like,
yeah.
Come on now. Like those are 2 teams right there that are going to have better recruiting classes than you.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma is going to be joining. You have just so many, like you said, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. You have so many good teams there, and they're on a rebuilding. It's not like LSU's a powerhouse this year.
No.
Like they got some work to do. So very interested to see what happens there. This whole thing just really, honestly, it kind of brought me back to memories of when I was playing at St. Thomas and our team folded. You can talk to Sawyer about this, but we had no idea it was coming. We get a message at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey guys, can we have a meeting at 2 on campus? We show up 2 o'clock and basically tell us the program's done by the administrative director and the president of the school. And I think the meeting lasted 3 minutes and it was 2 days before exams started. It was like, hey guys, program's folding. Good luck on exams. Like it was, and this kind of reminded me of the same thing. It's like,
right.
It's like, I feel bad for the players because they're the ones who have, Brian Kelly's recruited most of them, probably sold them on, come here, you're going to play for me. And the other thing is they have a strong team. They have a team that could play in a national championship Final Four game with a few things happening. Now, will the committee put them in? Let's say Michigan, let's say Alabama, let's say those 2 teams lose. All right. Do they get in? I hope so. Now, will they get in? I don't know. They may not look at Notre Dame because their coach left them. Who knows? But it sucks for Notre Dame because I really do believe at the end of the day, Brian Kelly has done a really good job with the program. We can't hide from the fact that he has made the program better over the last 12 years. Where the program's going to go, I don't know. I think they're still going to be strong. I think they're going to bring in a good person. Their defensive coordinator might be one of the best coaches in the whole NCAA.
Well, that's who they hired.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you look at him, he is a stud.
Yeah.
He is just a great coach. So I think they're not going to have a problem in the switch going to him, but in the same time, losing your coach in this kind of, last minute lead before a potentially national championship semifinal does not look good on the program.
No. And what I found, I know how much we both hate the committee, so that this is not going to surprise you to hear this, but they actually said the other night, well, because Brian Kelly left, this might hurt Notre Dame. Well,
Yeah.
Why? If Nick Saban has COVID and he can't coach on Saturday, does that affect Alabama? No, you're still going to put them in the game. Like, it's about, we know it's not, but it's about the kids. Like, it's about these guys that battle and try to get, it's not about Brian. Yes, coaches are important in college more than the NFL, but it's about the kids that battle to get there. It's about Kyle Hamilton. It's about Jack Cohn. It's about Kyron Williams that got this team to 11-1. And you talk about their team, they're built on defense. Guess what? Marcus Freeman's still there. They still got guys that are going to be drafted in the NFL. And let's just talk about this right now. We'll talk about Lincoln Riley in a second, but I know we both think that Alabama is going to lose to Georgia. So with Georgia winning, that's Alabama should be out. If Cincinnati wins, which I agree with you, I don't think that's an easy game. I mean, Houston's 11-1 for a reason. They're a good team. But if Oak State or Notre Dame can go in, they both have one loss. I think Notre Dame has a really good shot because Oak State doesn't have a whole lot of sex appeal to it. If it was Oklahoma, I think the committee would say, okay, we'll put Oklahoma in because you know what? They've been to a few. Their quarterback, Caleb Williams looks like a stud, yada, yada, yada. But Spencer Sanders, Oak State, I think Notre Dame would get bumped with or without Brian Kelly.
I don't understand. Yeah, when I saw that too, and that's why I brought up the committee a couple times already. When I saw that they were saying it could hurt their chances, that just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No.
It's about the players. Like you said, yes, coaching is important, but it's about the players. Their record speaks for itself. Who they beat speaks for itself. It doesn't have to do with coaching. Yes, it helps. It's part of it, but you can't punish a program and college athletes for their coach leaving for more money. That's not fair to the players. That's all that would be doing is saying that, you know what, this whole college football is nothing more than who's at the helm and what teams are in, and it means nothing. It'd just be so much. We know it's a business, but it'd make it even more of this is just a business.
Right.
And Notre Dame might not even have a chance to get in because you might see, Bama could win and you could see Michigan win. You could see all the top 4 teams win. And this is a moot point, not even talking about it.
Right.
But if a couple of them do lose, which very well could happen, it'll be very interesting to see if they put Notre Dame in without Brian Kelly there. And I hope they do. I mean, as a Notre Dame fan, I hope they do. But I honestly do believe that if 2 of those teams lose, Notre Dame should be in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't want to see it. No 2-loss team should get in ahead of a 1-loss team. I don't care. Yes, LSU has not been a world beater this year. Ole Miss was good, but losing to Texas A&M has lost a lot of its weight. They're not exactly a powerhouse this season. I wanted to pitch this idea. We see a lot of coaches switch teams and kind of in the dead of night. And what do you think of when a coach says, so next year, Notre Dame plays LSU. It's just an automatic. When your coach switches to another school, you play them the next year, no matter what. You find a date in the schedule, and it's like grandfathered in that you play your former team the next year.
Oh, yeah, no, 100% it's happening. 100%. I didn't know where you're going with that one, but no, Notre Dame's playing LSU, and you're going to see Oklahoma play USC. Like it's happening. Like, and they should put those in the calendar right now.
I agree.
Because you're going to get money out of it. At the end of the day, it's a business. You're going to get people watching. I'll tune in to watch. You'll tune in to watch. But you'll have someone who might watch one game a year will probably tune in to watch that game.
Right.
Notre Dame plays LSU, and I think Oklahoma plays USC. I'd bet the mortgage on it right now.
Yeah, I would love to see it because those kids that were on Notre Dame this year want to kick LSU's ass next year, and just to get back at the coach, beat an SEC school, and kind of rub it in Brian Kelly's face. Lincoln Riley, University of Oklahoma, a quarterback wizard. You can't deny what he's done. I mean, 2 Heisman Trophy winners. Jalen Hurts finished second, so he is great at developing quarterbacks. But this guy, he seemed really, really just kind of dirty this weekend when they lose to Oak State in a great game Saturday night, came down on the wire. But the next morning, it couldn't have been 11 a.m. It pops up on my phone. He's going to USC. And, okay, a lot of money. Yeah, it's Southern California. Okay, I get it. But then he has the audacity to say, "Oh no, this came together Sunday morning." Okay, yeah, you just ran that by your wife, and she's like, "Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's move." And your kids. For me, it's just, have you been focused on the team? Because you lost 2 of your last 3 games to Baylor and Oklahoma State. And to me, I just think big picture and think to myself, has Lincoln Riley been focused on football and doing right by those, again, the players who are trying to get into a position to compete for a Final Four slot?
It's a tough question to ask, right? It's just hard to say behind the scenes how much time went into this. Obviously, he was looking to make a move. Obviously, this didn't happen on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. This has been going on for, I'd imagine they were in talks for the last couple months, would be my guess, at least a month. I mean, we know the USC job's been open for a while now. There is speculation of him going for the last, I'd say, couple weeks at least. So the fact you say it just came together Sunday morning, that's BS. Now, is he fully focused? Obviously not. I mean, I'd like to think that someone who coached that level is still going to put effort in while they're on the field. Now, it's hard to say. For me, he obviously was ready for a change. Going to USC. I mean, USC is a great program, but I would argue that Oklahoma is a better program, at least as of late.
Over the last decade, no doubt.
At least in the last 10 years. I know when I was probably middle school age, I know USC was very strong. They were a top 5 team almost every year. They really haven't had that in the last 10 years, I'd say. A lot of money, Southern California. I think it's the fact that Oklahoma's moving to the SEC, like we talked about earlier. You're looking at going into his conference is even stronger. I'd say the SEC is stronger than the Big 12. So we'll see. To me, it's a move to make some money, to get away from the SEC, and to go to a place where he thinks he's going to win more football games. The fortunate thing, once again, who's suffering in this is the players. Right. Yeah. It's the same as Notre Dame. The players are the ones suffering, and it sucks when you see players suffer like that. Who have put time and effort and, everything they have. They've, gone to Oklahoma, recruiting. Geez, Oklahoma, they wrote recruiting this week. Yeah. Their offensive coordinator, some of their coaches wrote recruiting for Oklahoma and apparently for USC as well. There's rumors going around that they've been recruiting for both because, when this happens, who do coaches try and bring with them? Guys that are the guys they have. Like Lincoln Riley's going to have coaches off
the entire staff is going with him.
Literally almost the entire staff. They were out recruiting this week for both schools. Like, what? That makes no sense.
Imagine you're a parent and you're like, okay, where are you pitching me? And they're like, Oklahoma, but really SC. Like, it's nice. But yeah, I think he's running from the SEC, quite frankly. I don't think he's gotten his ass kicked by SEC schools in the Final Four. Baker Mayfield lost to Georgia. Joe Burrow beat Kyler Murray, and then Jalen Hurts lost to Tua Tagovailoa. So they're used to, he knows how to lose SEC schools in the playoffs. And what I can't fault him in is he's going to go to the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. Other than Oregon, who's his competition? I mean, Cal's a disaster. Arizona State, they're just on the periphery. They're no real threat. Utah is a good school, but, they're not going to be able to get the great players that USC should. And we've already seen five-star recruits who were supposed to go to Oklahoma say, no, we're going to go to SC with Lincoln Riley. And if he can keep the great talent in state, they've been going to Alabama, they've been going to LSU, they've been going to these different schools. He should be able to have a monopoly on the great players and, work on developing another great quarterback and potentially having a third Heisman Trophy winner on his resume.
For sure. One thing about California, there's a lot of good football players in California.
Yes.
A lot of five-star recruits come out of four-star, five-star recruits come out of California. One of the most, I'd say, it's really not talked about that much, how many good football players come out of California. The problem is they come out of California and they go to other schools.
Yeah.
As we've seen. Now, like you said, you could see if he's able to bring in these five-star recruits and he's able to have a couple of years of success, there could be a powerhouse. I mean, you look at the thing is, though, you look at the Pac-12, they're playing. This is how much credit the Pac-12 gets. They're playing Friday night. Yeah. They're playing tomorrow night, Utah and Oregon. They're not even playing on Saturday when all the big games are going on.
Right.
But to me, it's obviously a move to get away from the SEC, hopefully get a monopoly in recruits. USC has always been known as the best school in that even though Oregon's good now, USC's had the reputation over the last 25 years of being the best. So he is going to be able to recruit the best players out of California. And it will be interesting to see. I know USC plays Notre Dame every year. So we'll see. Maybe they'll change the USC game and put Notre Dame against LSU, and they'll put Oklahoma against USC like we talked about. But there is a very good chance that USC is going to be a top 10 school, if not next year, especially the year after. And like you said, he does a great job with quarterbacks. And if I'm a quarterback, I'd want to play for him because if you look and see what success these guys have had going to the NFL, I mean, if you're playing college, 99% of them want to make it to the NFL.
You want to play on Sunday.
You want to play on Sunday. The only thing better than playing on Saturday is playing on Sunday for more money.
Right.
So I could see him bringing in some good players over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he's a great coach. So we'll see where that goes. Last weekend in rivalry week, what was the most shocking outcome for you of all the games?
For me, it had to have been Ohio State. I honestly thought Ohio State over Michigan was a lock. I saw that being a 2-3 score game. That one really shocked me. Yeah, that one was it for me. I couldn't believe that one really. The weather really benefited Michigan.
Yes.
Weather was not talked about enough. That really benefited Michigan. The crazy thing is how bad the defensive line was for Ohio State. That was actually just terrible. Yeah. I actually thought their offense did quite a bit of good things. I mean, they put up high 30s, low 40s points.
Yep.
It wasn't the offense's fault. The defense was just embarrassing. And don't get me wrong, I hate Ohio State. I love watching them lose, but I'm also not a big Michigan fan. The only good thing about that game was one team was able to lose. But I think it really helped Notre Dame in the fact Michigan won because I honestly don't think Michigan's a lock against Iowa this week. I think Iowa might match up better against Michigan than Ohio State does. But that one really shocked me was the Michigan Ohio State. Yeah,
I would probably say that one for me too. And what a game for Aidan Hutchinson. 3 sacks. I mean, the guy is just, I think he's not only talking himself into the Heisman Trophy conversation, but potentially number 1 overall pick because he just continues to do big things. Thibodeau's out there in Oregon, but hey, Hutchinson's had a better season and he gets better week after week. Also for me, the Oklahoma State game was crazy. I remember watching that. And at one point I'm like, Okay, I'm gonna flick the channel. Oklahoma had all that, after the muff punt beginning the second half and just a disaster by Oklahoma State. Okay, this game's over. But then they don't get a point the rest of the game. They skunked them for a quarter and a half. And credit to Oklahoma State. Like, I still look at that team. I'm like, okay, they're not that good, but they have one loss. They play Baylor this weekend. Baylor's no slouch. But that was surprising too, because I thought Oklahoma would take care of business in that game.
Yeah, me too. And like you said, we have to give credit to Oklahoma State because we haven't mentioned Oklahoma State. We've done what, 2 or 3 of these shows here talking college football.
Yeah.
I think this is the first week Oklahoma State's even been mentioned, but they started out of the top 25. They slowly worked their way in every week, won football games, and other teams lost. And if you keep winning, you slowly move up. And they could, like you said, you could see them in the Final Four, which I would never have predicted the start of the year. Oklahoma State in the Final Four. Oklahoma State and Cincinnati in the Final Four. What will the committee be doing on that? Jeez.
Yeah, they're gonna be apoplectic if that's what happens, because they're not gonna know who to put 3. But I'd watch it, but we talked about this last time. The fact that they have these games on New Year's Eve, the semifinals, pisses me off to no end. It should be New Year's Day, in my opinion. I think it's so easy. Like, why do they make this so difficult? And New Year's Day is a Saturday. That's when you play college football, not Friday. And you'd have a week off till the following Monday before the national championship game. It just bugs me that they make so many stupid decisions when it comes to scheduling, especially when it comes to later in the season.
Absolutely. Even better. Why don't you play it on Christmas Eve?
Love it.
Like we talked about.
Love it.
Christmas Eve, baby. Let's do it. But New Year's Eve, everyone has something on the go.
Right.
And the problem is, yes, I'm going to watch college football.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to watch college football.
Yes.
Most people are not going to watch college football on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
They may tune in for the afternoon game for a bit, but they're not watching the night game. It is not happening.
No.
And it's just a big mistake by college football. Like, you're trying to get eyes on it. Have it on Saturday, New Year's Day. What is everyone doing New Year's Day? They are not moving from their couch.
They're recovering.
They are recovering. They're on holiday. They're relaxing. It's a Saturday. They're watching college football. Why do it Friday night where everyone's busy? Some people are still working.
Right. Yeah.
And so the other thing, people are working. I don't get it at all. It makes no sense to me. And I feel like they're going to lose. It's going to hurt ratings. And it's really just stupid.
Do you think there's a chance that we're going to get our gift of a New Year's Eve bowl game, at least? I mean, Christmas Eve bowl game.
Christmas
story.
Eve?
Yeah,
Christmas
I want
Eve.
it. I want it. I'd
We'll
love
get
to.
something. We'll get something Christmas Eve. I don't know if it'll call it what kind of a bowl game. We might get a bowl game. I don't know what type of bowl game we're gonna get.
Hawaii and Fresno.
It could be something. I would love to see a top 25 team bowl game.
Yes.
That would be nice.
Yep.
2 teams playing that had, let's say, 9-3.
Right.
Even maybe even 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
Even 8-4, but don't give us the 6-5 bowl game.
Yeah.
We don't want that. Or at least give us something. If you're going to give us something, give us the 6-5 or the 6-6 team over me watching It's a Wonderful Life again and over again.
Yeah. Let's try to avoid that. A game that would be a great bowl game, but it's the ACC title game. I think this is the sneakiest game of the weekend. Pitt and Wake Forest, I think it's gonna be a really good game. The over under, I don't know what it is, but it's probably 100+ because those two teams just play no defense and just throw the ball over the field. Kenny Pickett, Hartman, those guys are just gunslingers.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see a 45, 50. You could see 100 points easy in that. Easy, it's crazy to say easy. You could see 100 points in that game.
Yeah,
very interested to see the line. Sneaky game. I mean, the game in the overall picture doesn't mean much in the sense of who's going to win national championship. Now, when it comes down to what NFL teams are looking at, it's a big game.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of players off Pitt that could go in the NFL. And I think Wake Forest has a few. And like you said, you got two offensives that try and win being offensive.
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to be one of those games, who's going to score last, or it could be one of those games where the final's 10-6 and you're like, what just happened? But sneaky game, and it's one I'll be tuning into for sure.
Yeah, I love that. The ACC, usually it's Clemson's on the big stage, but that's a 1:00 game with the Baylor Oklahoma State. I wouldn't be surprised if that does better ratings than Baylor and Oklahoma State. When it comes down to it, I think it might even beat them in the ratings. Heisman Trophy. It's been a weird year because we were both on Devontae Smith last year. He won it. And I don't think it was really that difficult to handicap. I just think he was the obvious choice. I don't get that same feeling this year from voters, from just the media, from the general feel. For you right now, who are your top 3 Heisman finalists?
Hutchinson.
Yeah.
The guy from Oregon.
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Yeah, Thibodeau. And number 3.
Bryce Young.
What's that?
Bryce Young.
No, I'm going to go Corral. And
Okay.
I know that's crazy to say. I just think he's got more potential than Young. And maybe not more potential. I just don't think Young has done enough when you're the quarterback of Alabama.
Right.
You know where I'm going with this? It's
like
when you're the quarterback of Alabama, you should be blowing teams out, not beating Auburn by 2, not beating Florida by 2, not losing.
He almost got skunked by Auburn.
Yeah, like to me, last week killed him. I'm going to say Corral, I'm going to say Thibodeau, and I'm going to say Hutchinson for my 3. I think Hutchinson would be a sneaky winner in a good way.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't look quarterback. I don't know. I'm Hutchinson.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be my vote too. I just think he's been such a key factor and big time why Michigan's been winning so many games.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, if Young beats Georgia, I think he'll win it. If he has a big game, that's the narrative. Like it's all about if he can beat the best defense in the last decade. You got Bryce Young, Alabama, and if Alabama beats Georgia, they're going to be the number 1. They're number 1 seed. You know it already. Georgia will be 2. Alabama will be 1. It's an easy narrative just to write in your little slip there. Bryce Young.
Right.
But
I think the Heisman is really going to come down to kind of what we're going at, what's going to happen this weekend in these games. I think these games, honestly, there could be 4 or 5 players in the mix for the Heisman. These games could really decide what happens.
I think Pickett could win it.
Yeah. If Pickett won it, I wouldn't be pissed off about it.
No, because we've seen guys that didn't make the playoff win it. Manziel won the Heisman. Yep. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman Trophy. So it's not all about getting and winning the national championship. Sometimes it's just about your season, and you're not playing for a great team. And to your point, Matt Corral. Well, Ole Miss was a joke for a long time. Lane Kiffin shows up. Matt Corral at quarterback. 10-2 is a phenomenal season for Ole Miss, and they're going to be playing in one of the top bowl games. Like that's nothing to sneeze at when it comes to their season.
Yeah, no, for me, it's still up in the air. Ask me again on Sunday. We'll see what happens Saturday. Like I said, there's a lot of moving pieces, I think, in the Heisman. It's not a clear cut. Like last year, I think, like we said, Smith to most people was from after about week 7, you're like, it's gonna be Smith. But this year, it's kind of up in the air, and that's what makes these games just a little bit more exciting this weekend.
So you're better, you're a handicapper here on the podcast. If you had to put $20 on an underdog this weekend, so let's say Baylor, Bama, Iowa. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to include the pick game because I think that's kind of a pick 'em for me.
Yeah.
What game am I missing? Oh, Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So of those 4 of the big games for the weekend, who would you put your $20 on to upset and win outright?
Oh man, in this one, I have 2. I have 2. Here's why. I have one that think has a better chance of happening, but I really don't want it to happen. And I think that's Houston, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want to put $20 to it. If you're putting a gun to my head, then I'm throwing $20 on Houston, Cincinnati. Cincinnati hasn't done a lot the last couple of weeks. They haven't looked amazing.
No.
I bring it back to the Tulane game 3 weeks ago. They really haven't looked that great. They haven't blown a team. Even last week, they won what, like 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, it got closer late. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about Cincinnati. Now, I don't want it to happen. The other one that I think really could happen is Iowa, Michigan. I know Michigan had a huge win last week. They're riding high. Iowa plays defense.
Yeah.
All right. Ohio State does not play defense, as we just learned.
Yeah.
But Ohio does play defense. Ohio doesn't score many points, but they are okay playing a game where they win with 18 points on the board.
Yep.
I think Iowa, Michigan could be an upset. I think Georgia beats Bama. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Oklahoma State will beat Baylor. But if I'm being completely honest, not really watching that game that much.
Yeah.
It's just not a sexy game. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't really, if we're being 100% honest, like, I haven't really followed Oklahoma State or Baylor as much as I probably should have.
Right.
I guess that's my fault for not.
And I'd rather watch. I kind of would rather watch the Pitt Wake Forest game.
Yeah, like I just haven't watched them enough. And if you're gonna place money on it, I don't want to place money on teams that I really haven't watched as much. I just think Iowa matches up nice against Michigan, where it could be a low-scoring game where Iowa could win by a field goal. And the Houston one, I don't want to say it, but I don't want it to happen, but I think Houston could beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Since I would probably throw the $20 on Houston as well. Just, they're so close, and they're like one of our favorites. They're like a Loyola Chicago in March Madness, where they get to that Final Four and they get right to the precipice of it, and they just fall short. And I worry about them this weekend because Luke Fickell was talked about maybe going to Notre Dame, and now he's not going to get that job. Did he want it? I'm sure he was intrigued by it. He's a great coach, but I hope Cincinnati can overcome it. And
Houston's good. Houston is good.
Houston's a really good team.
Don't sleep on Houston. Like, they're a good football team.
11-1. Like, they're a good school. Like, they're having a really, really good season. Whether they win this game or not, they're going to be playing in a good bowl game. And that's another thing. Bowl games are a cash grab. We both know that. But at the same time, we can't be hypocrites. We're going to watch them. We want a big one on Christmas Eve, for Christ's sakes. We'd rather do that than spend time with our family. That's just me speaking. But they're a cash grab. But at the same time, it's a good showcase for some guys to play in the NFL draft. But also it's a big opportunity for programs. Cincinnati had a launching point last year. Yes, they ultimately lost to Georgia, but that was a great game, and they should have won it last year in the bowl game. And that's what helps, UCF winning that big bowl game a few years ago. And when they went undefeated, that helps these small programs boost themselves and get themselves on the map nationally.
Absolutely. I'll be watching. I know you'll be watching. There's going to be some great bowl games. Like we said, Christmas Day, fingers crossed. That'd be or Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. That'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. A nice 8-9 p.m. Christmas Eve game. Sign me up. Love it. But there's going to, for these smaller schools, these games are huge. So put them on nights where people will watch.
Yes.
And keep them away from NFL. In the sense of, don't put them on the same days as NFL games.
Totally agree.
Don't do it. But Houston, great job this year. Cincinnati, I don't think we're giving Cincinnati enough credit to. Awesome job. I really hope they get in. And it's going to be an awesome weekend of college football. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. It starts tomorrow night, Oregon, Utah. Again, the Pac-12 getting the left-hand slap to the face with that time slot. But hey, we'll watch it.
Oh yeah,
we can make fun of the time in the Pac-12, but I'm still gonna watch that game tomorrow night. Let's pivot to the NFL, and it's been chaotic there as well. I mean, I just try to figure it out week by week, and I'm just like, okay, what do I know now? I still can't figure it out. I know the Packers are good. I know your Patriots are good, but I thought the Bills were good. And then, can they beat the Saints? That's not exactly murder's row. But I look at the NFC wildcard race, Ryder, and this is really embarrassing. One of these teams is going to make the playoffs, and it's crazy that they have records that, what the record are right now. As I listed off, the Washington football team currently occupy the final wild card spot at 5-6. They're tied with the Minnesota Vikings at 5-6, with Atlanta at 5-6, with the aforementioned Saints at 5-6, Philly's 5-7, Carolina's 5-7. And the crazy thing is New York and Chicago still hold an outside chance at 4-7. Handicapping the rest of the season, out of all these disasters, somebody has to make it. We know that. Who do you think is the best team out of this bunch and will ultimately make the playoffs?
Right. Well, looking up, I think the top 4 are pretty much set. I don't see any of them falling out.
No, agreed.
At 5, 49ers, looking at their schedule, I don't see them missing.
Agreed.
I have them in. So looking at number 6, schedules come down to everything here for these. And I think Philly, honestly. I look at Philly, I look at their schedule, I look at how their defense, how they've been playing. I look at their running game. Their running game's been awesome this year. I think they're second league in running, in rush yards per game. I think Philly but in saying that, it's not like I'm like, Philly's a good football team.
You're not bullish on them.
I'm not. No, I'm not betting the mortgage on Philly to win the championship, but they did sneak in as a 6 one year and win the Super Bowl. So
they did.
You never know, but I'm going to go Philly. And I'm going to go Philly on that. What about yourself?
Yeah, I said a couple weeks ago that I thought Philly was going to make the playoffs, and then they played the Giants last week, and they just laid the biggest egg you could possibly lay. I mean, they looked terrible in that game, and so if I'm looking at it, Minnesota should be the team because Minnesota, I think, is the best team out of this bunch. But do I trust Kirk D. Cousins? Hell no. Do I trust Mike Zimmer? Hell no. But they got Justin Jefferson, Thielen. These guys are great, and Dalvin Cook's healthy. But I agree. I like Philly. I think Jalen Hurts is better than people give him credit for. He's not in there. You mentioned the running game, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. They got a 3-headed monster, and Hurts can carve up a defense like nobody else when it comes to his legs. But Atlanta stinks. The fact that they're 5-6 is crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're just a terrible football team. Like I'm just gonna
finding ways to win games, which is crazy, but I don't have them in.
Yeah. New Orleans, they play Dallas tonight. Big game for them tonight. If they could find a way, boy, Cowboy fans would just be panicking tomorrow. If they lose, they'll be 7-5. And Washington beats Vegas this weekend. They're a game back in that division. Did the Saints have any chance of pulling off the upset tonight at home?
There's always a chance, but I don't think so. I did throw a little bit of money tonight on Dallas -6. I just think Dallas is a much better team. I don't.
That's the number, really, -6.
Yeah, I thought it was a little low. Like I love Dallas in that number. I really do. I think Dallas is over a touchdown better than them. Guess we'll find out. But I just don't think they're going to beat Dallas tonight. I think Dallas needs a win too, which is crazy. I think they're looking at it going two weeks ago. They're like, oh, we are set for playoffs. It's not so simple anymore. If they lose this game, they're right in the mix of potentially missing. But I think they win tonight. Back to your Minnesota. I really do like Minnesota, but you look at their schedule and I just don't see it happening. I got to stick with Philly. I don't see the Saints there. But you never know. If the Saints win tonight, then you could probably put them ahead of Philly, but I don't see them winning tonight.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Taysom Hill starting at quarterback, and that's not his strength. He's better when he's a utility knife, jack of all trades. Carolina just looks kind of distraught. They're done. Seattle is at 3-8, and how the mighty have fallen. writer. And I think you could look at, Seattle didn't get the Atlanta syndrome where they lost to the Patriots and they fell apart. They've made the playoffs every year since. So it's not like they fell off a cliff. But you look at Russell Wilson, he's injured this year. Pete Carroll's 70 years old. Is it time for just a fresh start for a rebirth in Seattle for potentially both the head coach and the quarterback?
I do think so. And the reason why is if they don't shake it up, people are going to come into the season thinking Seattle's a playoff team next year, and they're not. We can see that this year, that they're just not that good anymore. But their stigma is that they're still a good team. Me and you fell into it at the start of the year.
Yeah.
We thought they could have won their division. So we had them, at least in the mix. So I think they do need to blow it up. I think Russell Wilson could use a fresh start. I think Pete Carroll could probably maybe be packing his bags. I just feel like people have a higher expectation on Seattle than what they can actually deliver.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And, you don't see teams morph quickly. Like New England switched at quarterback and they are 8-4. And I think they're a top 4 team right now in the NFL when it just comes to how they're playing right now. Seattle, to me, this is going to be some suffering for a while. And we've talked about it on the pod before. You can have a great team. You can have a great defense. Like the Bears have a really good defense, but Justin Fields, he doesn't have good coaching. He's still very raw. And if you don't have a quarterback in the league, you're done. Like we look, the Indianapolis Colts have a great running game. They have a great offensive line. I think they have a very good defense, but they're 6-6 because Carson Wentz is average. Kirk Cousins is 5. Minnesota's got a pretty good roster, in my opinion. They're average, and they're all better than Seattle. So for Seattle, I think finding the next quarterback and Russell Wilson potentially maybe going to the Saints would be an interesting transition for him to go link up with an offensive mind for the first time as a head coach with Sean Payton.
Do you think Sean Payton's there next year?
I do. Yeah. I don't think they move on from him. Do you?
I don't think he's going anywhere. I know there's been some rumblings potentially if they lose a couple more games this year, but I don't see Sean Payton going anywhere.
No, I mean, he just lost Drew Brees. He's had tons of Michael Thomas hasn't played in 2 years. Alvin Kamara has been dinged up. I mean, they're in salary cap hell. Like they don't have any flexibility. So it's really tough for them to be competitive. And if they can make the playoffs, that'd be a big accomplishment for Sean Payton to get this team that's very, like we talked about, kind of mediocre at best to the playoffs. Do you think the team that makes it in that last spot will be under 500?
Yes, I do. I think they're going to be 8-9. I do. I just don't see a lot of the top 4 losing many more games.
Right.
I see the top 4 winning a lot of their games. If they are, yeah, I do. 8-9. I think 8-9 is someone's going to slide in at 8-9.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, Philly, that would probably be their record if they did make it, because they'd have to go on a run and really, hope to get some luck down the stretch as well and kind of win out. Who's the best team in the NFC?
Oh man. Well, you asked me this question about a month ago, and I went with Arizona, and I looked today and Arizona is still in first place. Right. So once again, I'm going to say Arizona, but like I said a month ago, I don't have a lot of faith in that.
Yeah.
I am going to say Arizona. I mean, they've lost 2 games all year.
Yeah.
They're 9-2. They're playing awesome football. They're winning games. They're not winning games by a lot, but they're winning games. Green Bay, I think, could beat them.
Yep. I mean, I think
Green Bay can beat them. And I think Tampa can beat them too. But I also don't think Tampa's played very good football, because I think Tampa knows they're going to make the playoffs, and Tampa just needs to get in. You saw what happened last year, right? They just need to get into the playoffs, which they're going to.
Yeah.
So I don't think Brady hasn't thrown a pass over 20 yards in 3 weeks. Like they're playing boring football, but they're playing football as a, just to get to the playoffs. I see Antonio Brown's going to be out for 3 weeks. So there we go again with that. But
big surprise there. He violated a rule.
yeah, classic Antonio Brown, the old rule follower there. So buying his pass from the guy down the street.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say Arizona, but I also believe Green Bay or Tampa can beat them in a game.
Yeah, I think Green Bay is the best team when it comes to overall talent. Rodgers playing great. A.J. Dillon's really changed that offense for me, the way he can just hammer people. Like, he's so hard to bring down. You see him get hit at getting, you should gain a yard and you gain 6 because you just can't bring him down. He's such a large man. And you got Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, you could argue is the best wide receiver in football. But if I look ahead to the playoffs, I wouldn't bet against Brady. I think you're crazy if you do bet against him. And especially Aaron Rodgers is 1-4 in NFC Championship games, and he lost one to Brady last year at home. So do I think he'll be motivated to get some revenge? Yes. But if Gronk is healthy and Brady's there and that defense is somewhat, put together, I give the Bucs the best chance because I just trust TB12 and Gronk to get it done in the clutch.
Listen to you, big Brady guy over there.
I picked him to win the MVP before the year.
That's true. Yeah. And I mean, it's looking like that could very well happen too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you know me, I'm a Brady guy. But I'm going to say Arizona's the best team right now. But like I said, I think Green Bay or Tampa can beat Arizona.
You see Cliff Kingsbury trying to get a pay raise from Arizona by not saying he's not interested in Oklahoma. He just doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like, just say no. Like what? Like the fact that it's like, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, what do you mean? Just say no. You're not. No.
Yeah.
And then if you even are interested, you can say no and still be doing things on the back door. We've seen it with.
Yes.
Look at what just happened this week in college football.
Right. Yeah.
That's just, I want $1 million more dollars. Kingsbury, come on, man. Shut up.
Try to win a Super Bowl. You got a really good chance. You got a good team here.
Yeah.
But and then he said, no, I'm focused on the Chicago Bears. And after watching them on Thanksgiving, they're a really good team. So I need to.
Yeah. What were you watching?
Yeah. what the sport were you watching?
Seriously.
That game, my God. Oh,
what a snooze fest.
How does Detroit still stay on Thanksgiving? It's beyond me.
It's one of those things you just got to wonder. And you know what you feel bad for? They always play the 1:00 game.
Yeah.
And the announcers get up at 10 and they got 3 hours to talk about Detroit.
Yeah.
And by 11:30, they have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
They had an hour and a half of just trying to make up stuff before that to kick off.
And you could tell Joe Buck and Troy Aikman didn't want to be there at all. They're laughing about how bad the coaching was.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, it was embarrassing. They got to get them all. If you actually want to make Thanksgiving about football, then you got to get Detroit out of there.
Yeah, I get why you have to keep the Cowboys, even though they won 3 playoff games in a quarter century. But no, Detroit should never be even an option. I don't yes, it's tradition, but traditions are broken all the time. We used to do stuff that wasn't that great. And that was tradition. Well, guess what? We don't do it anymore because we try to improve as people. Detroit Lions continue to get worse. So let's, other than Brady, who would be number 2 in the MVP race for you?
Well, before I jump to that, and we've talked about it before, they need to have 2 MVPs. They need to have an offensive MVP and a defensive MVP.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of great defensive players that deserve to be in the talk, but they're nowhere near the talk of MVP.
Agreed.
And that pisses me off because there really should be a defensive MVP. Because the players will talk. The players will say, "Oh, that guy's MVP," but he's nowhere. If you look, there's nowhere near MVP. There's some really good defensive players who are getting not enough credit. Now I think you got to look at Jonathan Taylor potentially, and depending on what happens on Monday night, Mac Jones for MVP.
Oof.
I know it's a stretch.
Wow.
It's a stretch.
Oh.
But tell me who's played better football over the last 2 months,
No, he's playing great.
right?
He's asked to do very little though.
Yep. No, I agree. It's a stretch. Hey,
Yeah.
it's a stretch. But if they go out and they win tonight,
Okay.
they could win the AFC.
I totally agree. I think they're the best team in the AFC.
They could win the AFC. I mean, like Josh Allen, there's been talk about him, but I think Josh Allen hasn't been as good this year as he's been last year.
I don't know why he's tied for second. I don't get that at all. I'm like,
I don't have him. Yeah, I have Jonathan Taylor well ahead of Kyler Murray and Jonathan Taylor well ahead of Allen.
Yeah, if Frank Wright gets his head out of his ass and runs the ball last week, Indy wins and Jonathan Taylor runs for over 100 yards.
Yeah,
and they win the game, but he had to give it to Carson Wentz 50 times, and you know how that goes. But I think Aaron Rodgers has to be in that conversation. I know he's known as the liar now, and he's got COVID toe and whatever else he's dealing with down there. But he's playing lights out. He's playing really, really good football.
No, 100%. Rodgers is there. The Mac Jones thing, that's just kind of a hard pick too with what the Patriots are doing. He's not going to win MVP, but just kind of give him a little credit, throw the guy a bone. But Rodgers is there, Taylor's there, Murray's there. Those would be the three that I'd say. But honestly, I think Brady's kind of running away with it by the looks of things.
Yeah. If Lamar can have a really strong end to the season, I think he can get back in the mix.
I wouldn't argue with that, but I think it's too far gone. I just
Right.
don't. He would have to just completely tear it up for the last 5 weeks.
If they win out or something.
He'd have to win out and he'd have to put up, I think he'd have to go off for at least average 2 to 3 touchdowns a game to even have a chance.
Right. Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah.
Could happen.
I think for the Mac Jones argument of it all, I think if Belichick wins Coach of the Year, that's like kind of Mac Jones winning an award without winning an award.
Which
he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
You think Belichick's going to win Coach of the Year?
I think right now he should.
I think he should too. I really do. With where we saw the Patriots at, even before the draft, we didn't even know who their quarterback was going to be.
Right.
But then we thought it was going to be Cam Newton. Now look at what Mac Jones has done in the last 6 weeks. Patriots, 2-3, 3-3.
They're 1-4.
1-4. Even better. 1-4. Look at what they've done now. I thought they were 2-3, 1-4. That shows how much I know about my Patriots. But it's what he's done. Like you say, he's not asking to throw for 350 a game. They're asking him to throw for 210 yards. They're asking him to dump it off. They're running the ball. They're making smart plays. Their defense is playing well.
Yep.
That's coaching.
Yep.
That's coaching right there. But credit to Mac Jones.
And I think Belichick can win Coach of the Year. I think Micah Parsons is getting some love for Defensive Rookie of the Year and also Defensive Player of the Year. J.C. Jackson should be in that conversation as well, because that guy's just a baller. He gets interceptions, but he also punched out that ball on Sunday. That was a great play where they burst off that big run. Hilliard, Peanut Tillman's it, just punches that ball loose. That was a game changer because Tennessee was starting to get some momentum in that game. They were running all over the Patriots, and he just makes a big play every week. You know that he's going to do something week in, week out.
Yeah. 100%. Their defense they're honestly been a top 10 defense in the league, maybe top 5 with how they've been playing lately. And like you said, he's a playmaker. And as you can see now, teams aren't going down his side of the field much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're, as we know on defense, when they're not talking about you, that means you're doing something right.
Right.
So I love what the Patriots are doing right now. The biggest game of the year, Monday night. I think if you're going to watch a game this weekend, it's got to be Monday Night Football, Patriots Bills.
Yep.
It's battle for first place in the AFC. So sign me up.
How do you feel about your Patriots' chances going into Orchard Park?
It's going to be tough. I wish it was at home for that one, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I like them though. If you asked me at the start of the year, I wouldn't have loved them. I like them now. I think you got to look at the Patriots to be the favorite in that game, just with how everything's gone the last 6 weeks of the Buffalo. There's Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
they could throw up 45 or they could throw up 6. Like it's mind blowing how inconsistent Buffalo has been. And Josh Allen kind of looks a little lost. The plays he's trying just haven't been working. I mean, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Diggs has gotten going the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm a little afraid about how Stephon Diggs is starting to get more starting more touches, starting to make bigger plays. But I like the Patriots. I really do.
Mm-hmm. No, I like them too. I think they should be the favorite, even on the road. I think it might be a pick 'em or a 3-point, but I think they've been better than Buffalo, and it hasn't even been that close. But you look at the AFC, I don't trust Baltimore because I think they're too dinged up, and Lamar's got to do too much. New England, really good team. Tennessee, they're too banged up as well. I mean, they could have won the Super Bowl this year. I really believe that. But
yeah, tough for Tennessee. I really do. That one hurts for them.
Yeah,
because they had a really strong team.
Yeah. Kansas City's just lurking. They're just laying there in the shadows, coming off a bye week. They got Denver this weekend, but nobody's talking about them, but they're starting to click. And I would worry if I'm the AFC that sleeping dragon's starting to wake up right at the right time.
Yeah. Well, you look at what Tampa did last year.
Yeah.
We were talking about them with about 5 weeks left right around this time. Like if they get in, they could go on a run. Same with Kansas City this year. I mean, if you get in, the Kansas City gets in the playoffs, which they probably will. Are you going to bet against them in a game?
No.
In the AFC?
No.
Probably not. Probably not. They got, like you said, they got Denver this week, so I'm going to throw one at you. Who finishes with a better record, Denver or Vegas?
I can't believe that they have the same record right now. It's hilarious.
We're right there. What do you think?
I think it's going to come down to when they play each other again.
Yeah. Because
I think Denver will lose this weekend to Kansas City. Vegas has the Washington football team. That's no gimme for them because they're, again, talk about Jekyll and Hyde. That team just can't figure it out. I think you ultimately win the bet because I think Denver has to play Kansas City twice before the end of the season. Vegas only has to play them once. So that's an advantage for you. But looking at their schedule, Raiders, Chiefs next week. The Broncos play. Let me find it here. The Broncos play the Lions. I like that. I like that one. So there's a wash, potentially. Then you got the Broncos play the Bengals. It's a tough game. Bengals are a good team.
Yeah.
Your Raiders got the Browns in Cleveland on a Saturday.
It's going to come down to the game they play against each other. I really do think that.
Yeah, I think so because they play each other on Boxing Day. So,
there we go.
Do you like the two games on Christmas? Football? NFL?
I'd rather them on Christmas Eve. Yeah, I do like them because I don't know. I'd like to, a lot of people will do their Christmas stuff during the morning, maybe afternoon. I do like having the option on Christmas. I think 2 games is maybe even a little much. Maybe just 1 game in the evening. Mm-hmm. Make it a big game.
It's a pretty good one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But I do like it. I do like it on Christmas. I hope they stick to Christmas and we get college football on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
I do like Christmas. I love Boxing Day because Boxing Day is one of the biggest sporting days of the year. Yeah. I honestly believe so. You got World Juniors. You got NFL football. You have a sleepy Spangler Cup in the morning if you're really excited. A little horny in the morning. Get some Spangler Cup action.
I'm horny.
Oh, yeah. I'll be watching the Spangler Cup with some Bailey in my coffee. I love most underrated tournament in the world is the Spangler Cup.
I love it. Oh,
I love the Spangler Cup.
Me too.
You have a lot of options on Boxing Day to watch.
Yeah.
Christmas is tough because the NBA is huge on Christmas. But I do think the NFL will still draw bigger numbers.
Oh, they'll kill them. They will crush them when it comes to the
worst thing that ever happened for the NBA was the NFL throwing games on Christmas.
Yeah. And you got the Packers, Browns, Colts, Cardinals. Like that works.
Yeah.
Those aren't Detroit.
They're gonna be some good games. And yeah, I don't love it, but I like it. I like it enough that I'll be watching. I mean,
Right.
even if I hate it, I'll be watching. So what does it matter?
Yeah. I just throughout this conversation tonight, all I hope is that we get a Christmas Eve, just a really good bowl game. And I know it won't happen. It'll be, and the bowl game on Christmas Eve pissed me off too. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's
No.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. 8
Throw it on.
o'clock, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Give us some sports, please.
Yes.
I can't watch Year in Review. I can't watch A Wonderful Life. I can't watch Misplays of the Month.
No.
I can't watch How I Met Your Mother for the 30th time. Give me some sports.
You know what they should throw on? If there's not, and they want to throw a rerun on, Spangler Cup final from 2 years ago. Throw on that rerun. I'd watch that.
I'll watch that. I will watch that. Spangler Cup, please. More people get on the Spangler Cup. If I could go on any trip in my life to watch sports for an actual like vacation, like week-long vacation, send me to the Spangler Cup.
Davos,
let's go.
That barn looks awesome too. The fans just get so riled up.
I know a few guys that have played in that rink. They say the atmosphere is amazing.
Yeah. Because they're so small over there. Like you can only fit so many people, but they're jacked up for their teams over there.
Oh yeah. And they start drinking early and they don't stop.
Yeah.
No, but it's gonna, man, I'm telling you, for the next 48 hours, we're going to learn a lot about college football and the NFL. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Really. Well, as always, I appreciate you coming on, Writer. It's always fun chatting with you. Anything coming up when it comes to you personally or Champions hockey related info?
Coming up, not a lot on the go. We're going to have some Christmas pop-up shops coming up for Champions hockey. So if anyone's looking to get some Champions apparel, follow our social media pages. We'll be posting some stuff here on Monday, letting people know where we're going to be. We're going to have a pop-up shop in Miramichi. We're going to have a pop-up shop in Fredericton. If someone's looking to get some stuff from outside of those two areas, send me an email at championshockey@gmail.com and we'll look to get you a little swag before Christmas. And thanks for having me on, Jug, and looking forward to watching some football this weekend. I'm sure we'll be talking.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll share a few texts this weekend. But as always, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support, and have a great night.